Sometimes history takes you places you never imagined. You think your path is set. You've studied, you've trained, you know where your life is headed. And then fate steps in and sends you halfway across the world where tradition and destiny collide in the most unlikely of places.
Twist, twist, twist of Fate Radio.
Our story begins in Montana in the early 20th century. A young boy grew up hearing stories from his grandfather, stories of warriors who once rode the plains, who touched enemies in battle without killing them, who sang victory songs as they stole horses from rival camps. These weren't just tales of adventure. They were the sacred criteria by which a man could one day become a war chief of his people. But times were changing. The buffalo were gone. The frontier was closed, and reservation life had replaced the roaming freedom of his ancestors. By the 1930s, those old ways seemed like relics of the past. The young boy grew into a man with a sharp mind, earning a master's degree in sociology and psychology, the first from his nation to do so. His destiny, it seemed, was to become a scholar, not a warrior. He dreamed of classrooms and libraries, not battlefields. And then came World War II. Drafted into the U.S. Army, he found himself far from Montana, carrying not just the weapons of modern war, but the echoes of those ancient stories. The world had changed, but deep inside, those traditions still lived. One day in the chaos of combat, he collided with a German soldier. The enemy's weapon fell to the ground. He raised his own rifle ready to fire, but as he looked down the sights, the German cried out one desperate word: "Mama." In that instant, everything shifted. He lowered his weapon. Instead of killing, he simply disarmed the man and let him live. By old tradition, he had just completed one of the sacred requirements of a war chief, touching an enemy in battle without taking his life. That was only the beginning. Later, he led successful raids across enemy lines, another requirement. And in one daring moment straight out of his grandfather's stories, he slipped into a German camp at night and stole not one, not 10, but 50 horses. As he rode them away, he sang a traditional Crow honor song at the top of his lungs. The act was reckless, dangerous, and unforgettable. By the end of the war, through sheer chance and courage, he had fulfilled all 4 traditional deeds required to become a war chief of his people. Not on the plains of Montana, but on the battlefields of Europe. Fate had turned the chaos of global war into the proving ground of an ancient tradition. And yet, his story didn't end there. When the war was over, he didn't return home as just another decorated veteran. He came back as a bridge between worlds, the old and the new. He became a historian, a storyteller, and a keeper of Crow culture. He wrote books, lectured at universities, and dedicated his life to preserving the stories of his people. This man was Joe Medicine Crow, the last war chief of the Crow Nation, a scholar who became a warrior by a twist of fate, and a warrior who returned to become a teacher. He lived to be 102 years old, honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and remembered as a living link between tradition and modern history. His life is proof that fate sometimes writes its own script, weaving the past into the present in ways no one could predict. This has been Twist of Fate Radio. I'm Angela Clark. Until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest choices lead to the biggest consequences. Want to explore more stories like this? Visit twistoffateradio.com. There you can read more details about this story and others like it. Plus, you can submit your own Twist of Fate story to be considered for a future episode. You never know what twist of fate is coming next.